The sun, one nation under the law. So who feel the black? Who feel the white? I don't know. But it's set till tomorrow night. Who feel the wrong? Who feel the right? Come and go. And all who feel the too bright, let me jump up, let me wind up, party non-stop. We come to play mass. Every creed and class, don't let nothing pass. Like a ready TV, all the love inside the way.
First woman Prime Minister, first woman Attorney General, first woman to chair the Commonwealth of 54 nations, first woman opposition leader. Welcome KPB Plus, solid everywhere.
Like a ready TV, all the love inside the way.
Thank you. Let us welcome my brother Jack Austin Warner again. Thank you so much for being here. Next to him is a former minister. Thank you so much for being here, Lincoln Douglas. All our MPs and senators who are gathered with us this evening, activists, friends, thank you very much for this great meeting. We are in St. Joseph and it feels good to be in St. Joseph. Thank you for having me here in St. Joseph. So St. Joseph, around West Sawa, the UNC is here for you and we are here for you and all of you. We're intent on securing our future. I intend to rebuild our economy, create jobs, improve your life. And we do this simply because we love you. Always remember, we love you. The UNC loves you. Remember that. We will not live in hate and bitterness. And that is why we ask everyone, and I endorse Mr. Warner's words, let's all join in this journey on the road to victory in Trinidad and Tobago. You can see that love. Jack talked of things that we did when we were in government. There's so much more. It will take us days and months and weeks to go into all those areas of progress. But I want you to remember we were able to do it because we had a team that was working together, one of whom was Minister Warner, one was Minister Anna Roberts, Lincoln Douglas and others. And if we all join and come together again, we can surely recover in this land. We can rescue Trinidad and Tobago. But the answer has to be we have to do it hand in hand, side by side. United we stand, together we can. I thank you so much. And you know, I want to give praise where praise is due. In this party you have great people, hard-working people. And I want to welcome and congratulate one of our young activists who has seen through the journey. And on Friday, he was admitted to practice at the bar of Trinidad and Tobago. I want us to look at this video as we congratulate Chris Arshad Hussain on his calling admission to the bar of Trinidad and Tobago. Former councillor, from former councillor to present council, lawyer in the court. Give him a round of applause, please.
I think many people followed my footsteps. And young councillor Chris, I know you're studying the law, I know you have exams, I'm happy you could come tonight, but stay over and study and pass those law exams. The more lawyers we have, the better. All good people, all. Can I call Councillor Chris Hussain? And I want to share a little story, and I'm so proud of Chris. Chris is our councillor in the Princeton Corporation, and he took some of these years to better himself. I am proud to announce that Chris has qualified to be a lawyer, and I'm so proud of him.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed a deep honor and privilege to stand next to the strongest woman this country has ever seen, next to the best Prime Minister our country has ever had, next to a lady who has done so much for young people in this country, and I am proud to be one of them. I am standing here today not just as a councillor, not just as a UNC representative, not just as a supporter of the United National Congress next to the political leader, but I am standing next to my mentor and I am standing next to my inspiration, not just in politics but also in law. I am so privileged and I am so grateful to have had the opportunity for almost 6 years to serve in local government. It has been 6 of the most difficult but 6 of the most rewarding years of my young life, and I thank Kamla Persad-Bissessar for that opportunity. Today,
Chris Arshad Hussain.
Thank you all so much. Let's congratulate Chris again. Chris, are you here tonight? Let's welcome him. One of our young UNC activists. Congratulations to you again.
thank you very much. Thank you very much, my UNC family. You know, people will always tell you, they say, don't meet your heroes, you will be disappointed. But I think there's an exception to every rule. And I think my situation is that exception. At a young age, I met my hero, a lady who has broken every barrier this country has ever seen in the region. I grew up reading stories of attorney at law Kamla Persad-Bissessar going into the courts, fighting for justice and fighting for the poor man, for the common man. And from a young age, that inspired me. Looking at her journey to become the first female Attorney General, the first female opposition leader, the first female Prime Minister of our country. And being the best at each of those has inspired me even more. I remember reading stories of Kamla Persad-Bissessar fighting right alongside Mia Motley in the courts, fighting for justice in St. Kitts. And it made me feel a strange way, but a good way. On Friday, when I was called to the bar, I remembered a conversation I had at 3 a.m. while I was studying with Kamla Persad-Bissessar. And I have this habit sometimes, I complain about things, and I complain to her that it's so difficult, and she said, "What is so hard? Why is it so hard?" And then she told me her story of going to UE, going to Hugh Wooding, and then she said, "Bring your books and come. I will show you." I ran away from that because I know the buff that would come with it. But I'm so happy to have taken her sound counsel and pursue a career in law, that today I'm qualified to help people on a different level, to have access to the courts, to follow in the footsteps of Kamla Persad-Bissessar as a mentor and fight for justice for the people of Trinidad and Tobago, for the common man. And I'm so grateful for her for that inspiration. So mine is a story of meeting your hero and seeing it through. And it is one I will never forget. So to Kamla Persad-Bissessar, my political leader, my mentor in politics and in law, I owe you a debt of gratitude, and I say thank you so very much for inspiring me beyond words. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, young Chris Arshad Hussain. And Chris is probably a little too embarrassed to tell you more. But we should also thank his parents. It was not easy for them to send him through all those 5 years of study. So let's say thanks to your family for supporting you. They never gave up on him. We never gave up on him. Today, we can all proudly congratulate him and celebrate his success. But Chris, a word of caution. It is going to be hard at times. But the whole story is always the story. Never, ever, ever surrender. Never give up. So good luck to you in your practice. Good luck to you. And others of our colleagues have also graduated previously, but anytime I see a new graduate, I am overjoyed. Because I say you can never go wrong with the law. And you never have to retire when you're a lawyer, because you could always have a shingle outside your door, and you can practice. So anybody young ones there, go out, whether it be law, whatever profession you choose, just study. You know, I always tell you, education is a passport out of poverty. Education is the only way to have a better quality of life. And so I encourage all of you. I know several of my counselors, while they were counselors, Chris was one of them. While he was a counselor, he was studying. So on top of his work, he was studying. I know Khadija is one who also did her MBA. Several persons, I think, took inspiration from the words education is the key to success. So once again, congratulations. And let us talk about being in St. Joseph now. I know this weekend the media reported about an issue developing right here in the constituency of St. Joseph. It involves what has now emerged as a battle between residents of Bamboo and the Tunapuna-Piako Regional Corporation in their area after being targeted and attacked by criminals this year. Gating communities is one of the priorities when we campaign for local government. We had said that wherever we control the corporations, we will open up and allow communities who want to be gated, want to be closed, want to be protected, we will encourage them to do so. I firmly believe that all actions by any citizen or group of citizens in this country must be done legally and in adherence to the law. The reality is that throughout the country, not just in Bamboo, there's been a drastic increase in violent crimes. Mr. Warner spoke about it: home invasions, rapes, robberies, murders, targeting citizens in the comfort of their homes and their communities. Unsurprisingly, residents are now resorting to trying to protect their communities. Many have established neighborhood watches. Some have attempted to create gated areas. So I say, instead of battling each other, I urge all sides, we do not control the Tunapuna-Piako. All work together. Stop battling each other. I urge all sides to unite and secure the community by getting the barriers installed legally. On screen, if you can put this up for me, please, you can see the legal process that must be followed. So yes, you want to get a gated community, but there's a process that you have to follow. You don't just go and decide you're going to put up a booth at any spot you choose. There is a process. And so the president of the Bamboo Settlement No. 2 Village Council spoke to our councillor Seema today, and will give her a letter as a petition that is required. What are the requirements? 1, there must be a petition and a formal letter to be submitted to the councillor and the corporation. In this case, it's the Tunapuna-Piako Regional Corporation. The petition must include a great majority, at least about 2/3 of the signatures of residents requesting their community to be gated. Further, the residents should engage relevant stakeholders and the councillor in a meeting to discuss garbage collection, access to utility providers such as WASA and TNTEC. Residents who disagree with gating can ventilate their issues at that meeting. Further, a site visit must be done by the corporation's technical department, including a resultant report on the ability of the infrastructure to be safely supported in a gated community. Further, upon receipt and deliberation of the report, members of council should pass a motion thereafter approving the establishment of a gated community with the conditions governing the same included. So we are not in the wild, wild west. You're not on the frontier that you just decide you want to put up a booth. You have to do it in accordance with the law. You must follow the law and you will get through. I promise you that. These are the simple steps to follow in any regional corporation in the country. Before gating, the majority of the community must agree on the responsibilities of the upkeep of the roads, the drains, the pavements, etc., and garbage disposal. You must also agree on evacuation procedures and emergency access for ambulances, police, fire departments, and so on. Also, it would be best to have a consensus among residents on the financial contributions to funding the security guards and upkeeping of the guard booth. There should be something worked out that all residents will agree to. I want to say we totally support any community which would like to become gated. And I urge all involved to work together, follow the rules, follow the law, and get your community secured. So for those of you in St. Joseph and in the Bamba region, please follow the law. Our councillor Seema has agreed to work with you. And if you need a lawyer, we just had one admitted to the bar, and Chris Ashad, who said we can help you to follow the law. Okay? So what are some of the reasons for the crime in St. Joseph? What are the main drivers of crime? And they are the drug trade and illegal gambling. The gangs are fighting for control of turf to profit from these activities. To finance their purchases of drugs and guns, they resort to home invasions, robberies, and extortion. They transport the cocaine, the marijuana, illegal immigrants, and guns up the Caroni River and offload behind Arangwe's South Estate and El Socorro. They are terrorizing the farmers in that area because they want no one to see what's going on. They use the banks of the Caroni, San Juan, and St. Joseph rivers as transport routes to carry their illegal contraband into their stronghold communities. The criminals continue to destroy the flood pumps. Why? To wipe out farmers, to get them out of the farmlands. They then bring in their criminal friends to squat on these lands so they can protect each other while moving their drunks and illegal drugs, illegal guns. They kept destroying 2 pumps on the Caroni River because they did not want the watchman to remain on site. They feared he would report their movements up and down the river. That is what is going on in St. Joseph. Everyone knows this, but many are afraid to speak up. Many victims of crime in St. Joseph do not make reports to the police. Some feel futility in lodging official statements, while others fear further criminal reprisals. Members of the TTPS must know what is going on in St. Joseph. How can they not know? So you have to suffer in pain and silence. The incidences of crime are therefore significantly worse than what is recorded by the police station, Jack. Significantly worse. Because what is recorded, not everybody goes to report because they're afraid. And then the rate of detection is so much lower than reported figures. In most crime categories, the detection rate is less than 16% detection rate. So these crimes go unheeded. We saw the numbers recently in terms of reported murders, and then how many persons were actually arrested for these murders. I want to call on government to consider raising the age limit to 25 for marijuana use and gambling. Jack told you, and you remember, the UNC gave children laptops. This government legalized marijuana. Legalized marijuana. And therefore, we should raise that age from whatever it is now to 25. When the younger people, they're more developed, their brains are functioning better, then you're chasing their brain with marijuana at such an early age. So I mentioned it, the main driver of crime and gang-related activity is the war for control of drugs and gambling. This government legalized marijuana. They did not put in place all the necessary controls. There are no legal dispensaries and no consistent monitoring of the quality or origin of that supply. And then what some of these people do to get the young people addicted, they mix the marijuana with harder drugs. What do they mix it with? They lace it with something else that you become addicted to instantly. So young children should not be exposed at all. In place of legal dispensaries, people are buying on the street corner from drug pushers. The marijuana, as we said before, is laced with cocaine. There's no consistency in the THC levels. That is what gangs are fighting for, control of these corners. This government created that problem. The criminals are also fighting for control of gambling machines and illegal gambling. The gangs tax bar owners for all those slot machines in the bars in St. Joseph. Andal, you would know about this. You're a coordinator here in St. Joseph. So the criminals tax, extort in other words, from the owners of businesses. The bar owners cannot report to the police because the police sometimes are also taxing the owners. A double taxation agreement, it seems. And then, that is what's driving up the crime here in St. Joseph and other areas as well. Since 2016, the finance minister promised to implement a suitable gambling regulatory system with appropriate controls. After 7 years, you said 7? 8, going on 9. They started their 9th year in office. Nothing has been done. Gambling and marijuana addiction is wreaking havoc in the lives of young people across our nation, not only here in St. Joseph. Gambling and marijuana addiction affect all classes amongst our young people. The human brain finishes developing and maturing in the mid to late 20s. The prefrontal cortex, I think Dr. Bissessar could explain this a little better. I'm not a doctor, I'm just the wife of a doctor. So I'm being told that the cortex is one of the last parts to mature. And that part is responsible for self-awareness, problem solving, learning, memory, personality expression, decision making, and modulation of social behavior. Marijuana use and abuse is damaging the brains of our young people. This is not just Kamla saying so, this is what the science actually says. My government gave your children laptops and scholarships. This Rowley government is giving them marijuana. Tonight I am calling for an increase in the age limit for marijuana use and gambling from the present 18 years, based on the science, to the age 25 and above. After age 25, when the brain is finished developing, then you can have a matter of choice and not that of addiction. Until that age, we have to protect our young people. The only people against this would be the criminals because they benefit most. No parent would want their children who are now going into adulthood involved in smoking marijuana and gambling. No parent or no responsible parent. I call on responsible parents to come out and support us. Let us protect our young people. Let us stop the scourge of drug use and gambling, and so we can protect our young people while starving the criminal gangs. We cannot depend on this government to act. We must act. So I call on all responsible parents to join us in this matter. I know the newspapers has been filled with stories. Opposition and government must talk, and crime talks, and anti-crime talks, and so on. But the abject failure of Rowley and Fitzgerald Hines, the hapless commissioner of police, is most apparent because of the dreadful state of affairs concerning crime. On that note, I want to publicly state that the UNC is prepared, willing, and able to have meaningful discussions with government on anti-crime measures. We remain very able and willing. Therefore, let us say that there is no place or space for small-mindedness, okay? While our country is under siege from armed, ruthless criminals. The UNC has a well-considered package of measures, which includes legislation, policies, operational plans. I presented an outline in my budget contribution in our debate on this year's 2024 budget. I also included the outlines in my letter replying to Prime Minister Rowley. When he invited us to the camp talks, I sent him a whole host. The man said the letter was too long because I gave all the proposals and he's yet to respond. He has not responded. Our recommendations are on public record. The government has not responded to a single proposal because Rowley has a childish tabanka about a man called Gary Griffith. He taught in feelings about Gary Griffith. And he refuses to attend any crime meetings. The citizens of TNT, you are correct in requesting cooperation from us as your elected representatives to stem the violent crime crisis. Therefore, the UNC reaffirms its commitment and my commitment to lead a team on behalf of the UNC to attend the anti-crime talks to explain our multidisciplinary approach to government about combating violent crime. On November 20th, recently, at a press conference, the Prime Minister of this country lied to the public when he said that the UNC put forward a deal breaker, that there will be no anti-crime talks if former Commissioner of Police Gary Griffith was not present. He said, we put that forward as a deal breaker. You hear a lie? That is the biggest lie you could ever hear. I want to correct this lie and remind the country that I had indicated for an invitation to be extended to all willing stakeholders who wanted to take part in the anti-crime talks. Over a month ago, October 14th, again wrote to Prime Minister Rowley to clarify several key points concerning the proposed bipartisan crime talks. To date, no response. Not even the courtesy of an acknowledgement of my letter of the 14th of October. 14th October. We are now at the end of November. Many citizens have called for the government and opposition to work together to get these talks going. I agree with their calls. And this is, I say, a time for humility, a time for cooperation, not arrogance. One thing we must have in common is our love for the people of our country and of our country. Mr. Griffith has no criminal charges against him. He's exceptionally qualified to contribute to these talks. However, it is clear that the presence of Mr. Griffith, as I said before, causes great anguish to Prime Minister Rowley. Great anguish. Anguish, yes. He seems, when he speaks of Griffith, is very anguished. Great anguish to the Prime Minister. And that is Prime Minister's reason to refuse coming to the crime talks. So therefore, after consultation with our team and with Mr. Gary Griffith, Mr. Griffith has selflessly put his inclusion on the opposition team on hold, as he did not want to be scapegoated as the reason that these talks were not going to be held. Talks scuttled because of Gary Griffith, because of the tobacco. Hopefully, Mr. Griffith's non-attendance will take away some of the anguish and fears of Mr. Rowley. And therefore, he can now reconsider his refusal to attend the talks. As leaders, we owe it to the people, our supporters who elected us into office. We owe it to take TNT forward safely. In this context, I urge the Prime Minister as follows. 1, invite all willing stakeholders to the anti-crime talks to contribute. And Gary said you stay home, so you don't have to take on that banker with Gary again. 2nd, broaden the topics to be discussed, not just legislation, but beyond legislation. You know, if we had law alone could solve crime, we would have no crime in this country because we have thousands of laws on our statute books. Clearly, the answer is not in passing more law, but it's in implementing the law, carrying the law forward, implement the law. Invite experts and professionals from various sectors to advise parliamentarians to create a holistic approach in the fight against crime. Yet further, implement the numerous plans, policies, and programs the UNC has presented. Further, desist from using these anti-crime talks as political propaganda and distraction. Lead a credible team to represent the government at these talks. And you want to bring your lion AG, Limo himself. This is a man who lied in a foreign court in Miami. Lied on affidavit, oath. We cannot believe anything that he will say to us. He cannot lead these talks, Prime Minister. You must do the right thing. Prime Minister Rowley, you must lead these anti-crime talks yourself. Don't pass the buck. Don't pass it on. As leaders, we cannot take intractable stances on these talks while violent criminals terrorize our beloved citizens. I repeat, the UNC is ready, willing, and able to work with the government to combat the violent crime crisis destroying our lives and that of our citizens. The Prime Minister must rise above his arrogance and pettiness and instead make the people's business a national priority. The people's business is your business. The elected government has a constitutional and moral responsibility to ensure the country's safety and security. That is your duty as elected Prime Minister. And so it's erroneous to suggest that solving crime rests equally on the shoulders of the opposition. I see some armchair politicians writing in the newspapers from time to time that wants to equate the responsibility for crime on the shoulders of the government. And, more important, as on the shoulders of the UNC. Man, wake up. The UNC is not in government. We do not have the state resources that the government has. And that is very wrong, very wrong. If that is the case, then the opposition must be afforded equal opportunities at national leadership and the introduction of governance measures. While I know that some people are unwilling and even afraid to challenge the government publicly due to victimization, I urge them to write the Prime Minister directly. Send your complaints, send your suggestions to the government. Solving crime is not an equal and balanced task for both government and opposition. I said we do not have the resources that the government has. Apart from offering well-thought-out proposals, the opposition's role is to analyze and provide advice. The UNC has repeatedly done so. We have a proud legislative record, which we are prepared to defend. But I wish to advise that if legislation alone could have solved the crime crisis, as I said, TNT would have been a paradise on earth, which is low. There have been various anti-crime legislation dating back to several administrations. The law books are stacked. What is required is leadership at the helm. And that is the leadership, if you look at the screen, please. What is required is leadership at the Ministry of National Security. But leadership has been missing from this failed Rowley regime. The minister is so incompetent. He will struggle to get a job out of any standing other than being in government. He has the most miserable track record of any holder of this office. I speak of Fitzgerald Hines. And whilst you call Jack for Rowley must go, Hines must go, Rowley must go, and the whole gang of them, the whole P&M gang, they must all go. And they must do it now. They must go now. Hines is so incompetent. Prime Minister will not fire him. We have to find out what they're holding secrets for each other, that he will not touch the most incompetent minister he has. They continue to throw resources into the protective services without the requisite policies and plans. There's no strategic plan, there's no strategic direction, there is no purpose. Whenever there are credible plans, the UNC has publicly presented them. I keep advising government to revisit the extensive recommendations of the committee that was led by, departed Professor Selwyn Ryan. His team had studied and reported a really extensive study on youth delinquency and crime. The government simply tossed away the report. It gave a holistic way of dealing with our endangered youth. For some people in this, you say, Selwyn Ryan and his team met with stakeholders, deeply assessed the problem. This is why I insist that the Prime Minister personally hold crime to us. We're not just members of the UNC parliamentary team, but key stakeholders in the country. Because this is his job. That is not my job. When elected in office, we are paid by taxpayers. We must represent their interests. Rowley just wants a puppy show the politics. But at the end of the day, it is the people, the citizens, who are being affected by crime. So I say, for some people in this country, when UNC is in government, you blame the UNC. When the PNM is in government, you still want to blame the UNC. We're not taking that. We are not taking it. Put the blame where it lies, and it falls squarely on the Rowley PNM government, the state of our country. Many of you receiving valuation forms now have asked me to say a few words about it. Minister of Finance, we're getting a lot of messages and calls from property owners about what rate they have to pay for this property tax. You remember when Rowley told you that all that property tax was to cost was less than a dynamite a day? Do we have that clip when Rowley told us it will cost you less than a dynamite a day? Rowley, property tax less than a dynamite. Well, I don't know which dynamite selling for that. $3. I don't know. So he told us it would cost less than a dynamite a day. Well, those are some very expensive dynamites, I must say. I warn you all, St. Joseph will have some of the higher rates in this country. And this is the same man who was not closing down Petratory, remember? This is Mr. Emil Gate. This is Mr. Merritt List for the Commissioner of Police. Just remember always, voting has consequences. DPL John always tells us that. Elections have consequences. So when into 9 years now, everybody's suffering, then you know voting, remember, St. Joseph. You have one of the worst health ministers here as well, the convent girl, I'm told. Is that the minister? I'm told this. All right, Arnold. Never came to Aranguez. Okay, sir. Your UNC government will scrap this wicked tax. Next year, you know, you're going to have a triple whammy. You're going to have property tax to pay. You're going to have to pay electricity and water. Well, there's a fourth one you didn't think about. Ask Neil Gosain. Increased insurance rates on your properties. So 4 price increases for one homeowner in the new year. Look, Alim is saying the same thing with insurance. So that's a classic definition of really callous leadership. Cold-hearted government, insensitive, unsuited for office, with any kind of leadership that we need. After the next general election, they plan to bring the inheritance tax. They plan to bring it after the local government election, but you all put a hold on it, so they will come back with this inheritance tax. We had warned you, you know what they would do. They were going to raise electricity rates right after the local government elections. That's exactly what they did. So let us take note. And when you go to vote, make sure you remember your elections, especially in St. Joseph. This is such an important constituency. We must win St. Joseph in the next election. And if we have to win this seat, then the work has to start now. All work that you began, the work begins again and over and over and over, and you continue to work with your activists, with your chairman, with your councillors in this constituency. As I close, my friends, I can speak on so many more issues, but time does not permit tonight. As Jack said, not tonight, another night. We will be coming to you again very soon. We'll keep talking to the people of this country to represent you in every possible way. Be tuned in for our pavement report, which is on Thursday at Shogunas East, constituency of MP Vandana Mohit. And next Monday, our cottage meeting will be held in Oropuch West, the constituency of MP Tanku. So we look forward to seeing you in those meetings as well. Tune in, stay tuned in. More to come, more to carry. Once again, know that we love you very much. May the good Lord continue to bless and keep you. And I tell you, for Diwali, I told you, light up them dears. Well, for Christmas, let's light up those candles and light up the Christmas lights. May God bless you all, and I thank you very much.
So who feel the black? Who feel the white? I don't know. But so who feel the black? Who feel the white? I don't know. But we settle tomorrow night. Who feel the wrong? Who feel the right? Come and go. And all who feel the too bright, let me jump up, let me wind up, party non-stop. Ramaje tengo le que